What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Mint Hunter Comics. Welcome to 5 Minute Review, where you get a full comprehensive look at the comic, the plot, layout, everything you need to know, and of course, my personal opinion. Today, we're looking at the brand new Aquaman Future State #1, The Confluence. I will tell you right now, this comic is probably my second favorite and maybe even my favorite out of all the Future State comics that dropped recently, even if a portion of my respect for this is waiting for what is set up for the second issue. Part of the beauty of this comic is being able to not know any backstory whatsoever and just picking it up and enjoying it. And the way it's written, you can figure out what's happening by page 2 or 3. This issue opens with Jackson Hyde, formerly known as Aqualad, escaping a prison on Neptune. We later find out that he's tried to do this nearly 300 times. Like the many times before, Jackson is recaptured and brought before the King of Neptune, and it's from here where our story begins, with Jackson recounting to the King his story of new character Andy Curry, daughter of Arthur Curry and Mara, and how he tragically failed at his sworn oath to keep her safe. It is clearly an issue thematic of trying to fit into the shoes of previous mentors. Jackson's trying to live up to the legacy of his mentor Aquaman, as well as potentially escaping the villainous legacy of his father Black Manta. Andy is the daughter of Aquaman, and as such feels she's entitled to her own notoriety and doesn't need a babysitter. Writer Thomas's dialogue between Jackson and Andy emphasizes that neither wished for their current status, nor is happy about it. Jackson accepted the role of Aquaman, not realizing he'd have to mentor Arthur Curry's daughter, Andy, who is noticeably even less happy to have Jackson as a teacher. Their back and forth is extremely natural, and even in just a couple panels and pages, provides a warm backstory and understanding of these two and the situation they're forced to be left in. Somehow, even just halfway through the issue, I found myself loving the dynamic between these two due to the clever bickering and weight of their legacy and egos. Now, something big happens in this issue. While arguing in the water in a flashback scene 6 years prior to Jackson confessing his story to the King, we see the water change and the sky change. Here we learn that they had accidentally slipped into what's known as the Confluence and had been transported to an alien world. We come to understand this confluence as a vast interdimensional ocean which connects all of time and space and even other worlds. I presume this will have a major part of DC continuity in the future, just as Swamp Thing's connection to the Green or Superman's Phantom Zone. Jackson continues to tell the King of how they had wandered around the confluence, helping people in every world they found themselves, searching for a way home. Eventually, they were attacked by a giant sea monster, which was the protector of the confluence. Jackson was able to escape the beast's tentacles by shocking it with his electrokinesis, but Andy was too weakened by its toxin to break free or control it. To force Jackson to leave her behind, she heartbreakingly and heroically severed her own foot, which he was hanging onto, with a hydrokinetic blade. She also attempted to tell Jackson a message to give to her parents, but he was unable to hear. This setup was breathtaking and extremely memorable. I couldn't believe how moved I felt by this scene, despite admittedly only learning these characters minutes before. The sharp imagery really helps you connect to Jackson's trauma and the weight of failing the original Aquaman. We're then tossed back into current times as the King of Neptune, moved by Jackson's story, shows compassion for Jackson and the visible pain he feels over his failure to keep Andy alive. The King offers Jackson relief from his pain by essentially offering a memory wipe. Jackson, unable to let go of his failure and trauma, harnesses his strength out of sheer hope that Andy may still be out there alive. Refusing to be wiped clean of his memories, he has a dashing scene of breaking through the chains. The final panel illustrates Jackson facing the entire Neptune army, powered solely by the hope in his fallen friend. Future State Aquaman #1 is written by Brandon Thomas, illustrated by Daniel Sampere, and colored by Adriano Lucas. And I'm starting to think this might be a power team, although I do need to see more from the next couple issues if I can fully label this as a must-read. The imagery is reminiscent of that of Star Trek, and is ramping up to feel like a Search for Spock storyline, which is fine by me. This is how you establish dialogue and relationship. This is how you move your readers within just one issue. A lot's going to be riding on this cliffhanger, but in the meantime, I'm giving it the well-earned 9.2 out of 10. Stay tuned for more 5-minute reviews, and as always, keep on collecting.